This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 434 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and TotalSaddleFit.com. Today we're going to try and cover some listener questions in our second monthly listener call-in show.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, hey, Phil.
Hey, guys.
Jen, how are you?
We haven't talked in a long time.
I know. Well, Jen, we are so glad you're back. And thankfully, you guys made it through the hurricane, but it sounds like it was quite a rough go of it there for a bit.
The state of Florida was pretty stressed out for about a week.
Yes.
Pretty stressed out. We made it through relatively unscathed.
Good.
And I would say
scary.
We're about 80% back up and running now.
Oh yeah. It's been really stressful.
Just enough for us to record our show.
Yes,
just enough. We're here. So we are sorry to everybody. We know we missed a couple shows, but the Horse Radio Network got hit by the hurricane and was down. So we are sorry. We've missed you guys. We all pray for Puerto Rico now and everybody that's been affected by the hurricanes. It's really been quite a couple months. So we really are with you guys, and we're sorry. We're sorry we weren't here, but there was no Horse Radio Network there for a little bit. And Jen, we're glad you're good. You're okay.
We're back in business, so to speak. So let's have at it.
Let's have at it. Well, Phil, I've missed you.
Yeah, another reason why we didn't really get to talk a lot there, Reese, is you left.
I did. Well, we always say that horse trainers don't get time off, but we can. It just has to be incredibly well orchestrated. So I actually went to the regional finals the third week in September, and I had a great regionals. We are two. We are Region 2, and it was in Cincinnati, and we had a great show. Actually, when you go to especially regional finals, and your horses do as well as they can do, you can't ask for anything more. It doesn't matter placings. It doesn't matter anything. It just means I was thrilled. So Eland Court, my big horse, did a great job. He is pretty green at the Intermediate 1. He's actually only done now officially 4 Intermediate 1s, and he had a 69% and was 5th in a huge class. I think there were 35, and qualified for nationals in the technical test. And then came out the next day. He has literally only done, he did 2 tests to qualify at the Intermediate 1 freestyle, and he had 70.9, so basically 71%, and going to nationals on that too. So could not be more thrilled on how he did. I mean, that Intermediate 1 test it's hard. It takes a lot of strength, and he's 8. So we are thrilled. We're going to nationals, so super excited. Yeah, I know. Phil has been a big part of this horse's development. And so for all of us, the whole team, it's really exciting. And then the baby horse, Follow Me, who you guys have all heard about when I got him in January. He did a great job. He was 5th in the day-long training level class, and also 5th in the first level open. I mean, these are incredibly big classes. And technically, there's something about he may be qualified for nationals. I elected to not take him. There's something, I don't know how it works. They if you're in the top 5 of the class, you somehow could get in if you want to go. I don't.
They call it the wild card score or something?
Yeah, it's not the wild card score. It's something else. It's kind of like the wild card score. I'm kind of fuzzy on how. I got the letter that
you're nice and we like you. You get to go. Is that one of those?
You can get to go. Well, no, it's like if you finish in the top 5 of your regionals, you can declare to go, and then you're sort of on a waiting list. If that makes sense. Yeah. So you're sort of on like a wild card.
With as many people as they can.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So if they're a little spare from the Region 2 area or spare in general, they'll pull horses from the region that can get here quick. But anyways, I decided not to take him. It's it's expensive to show at nationals, and it would be a great experience. But with Elin Court going, I like to be able to sort of focus on the big guns, and I'll just ride the baby. I'm 10 minutes away, so he's gonna stay home basically. And then I had Pam McKee and Marcus is a horse that I ride for a wonderful client, and he qualified for the first level freestyle. So he's going, which is going to be great fun. And Alston Kerr, another one of my students, qualified. So we've got a big group going to nationals, which is a lot of fun. I had one other student that just missed it by 0.2 of a point, the wild card score. But
those little things matter, huh?
They matter. They
every
matter.
Halt,
and every hold, everything
matters.
Yes, it does. and when you're talking about certainly the lower level amateur divisions, they're incredibly. You have to be perfect, really. To those also. I think that was a day and a half long class. I mean, it just went on forever. I left. I was like, I love you guys, but I'm out. I'm going home. But anyways, really exciting. So we have a good group going to national finals, and we're all really, really looking forward to it. And I'm a fan. So if anybody's out there and they're like, should I go? Should I not? I am a fan of if you make a national championship, you should go. You never know what'll happen, and kind of seize the moment. So really looking forward to that experience. So yeah, so that'll be so then I taught my class at UK on Monday. I teach a global sport horse industry class on Monday at the University of Kentucky. So I taught my class, and we were on a plane that next Tuesday, and we went to Germany. And actually, I did not do anything horsey, Phil. Can you believe it? I was just a tourist.
A little disappointed, actually.
I know. Well, my husband was not interested in it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have it, eh?
Nope. I tried to go to tack shop, and actually we ran out of time, and it was fine. It was kind of a bummer, but I really don't need to spend the money. I can always find something in there to buy. But we had a great time. We did all kinds of things. We ended up, the main goal was to go to Oktoberfest. That was what my husband and his best friend wanted to do for their 40th birthday. So that's what we did, and we had a heck of a time. Oktoberfest, if anybody can ever go to the Oktoberfest in Munich, I highly recommend it. It's just a wonderful experience of people sitting and drinking beer and having a good time. So that was cool.
Singing songs? Did you sing any of the Oktoberfest?
We sang songs. We did all kinds of things. Yeah, it was great. And it was really, really fun. We met people from Brazil and Australia and Germany and Holland. And I mean, it was just a really cool thing to do. And then we did some touristy things. I actually went to it's not a fun experience, but something I think everybody should do is we went to the Dachau concentration camp. So that was a hard thing to do, but something I think just in general for culture, we did that. And then we spent a couple days in Salzburg. If anybody could ever go to Salzburg, it's wonderful. And they were also having a festival, so we enjoyed that as well. So it was really a personal trip, but always people say, how can you go on vacation and have horses? Well, I can tell you, I talk to my assistant every day, and there was not one complaint from my boys about the fact that they had the week off. They were tired. They had a really big summer, and so they all enjoyed a little time in the pasture and grooming and therapolating, and so it was good. So that's what I've been up to, and so it's been a busy couple weeks, but a really fun. And I'm now back, and my horses feel great and rested, and now on to nationals. So that's our plan. So that's what we're up to.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a bit of a longer show, so maybe we should just get to our first listener. We have 2 auditors, HRN auditors, who are going to call into the show today, and we're going to cover their dressage questions and try and help them out. And hope everybody enjoys the interviews.
Yeah, so we're going to get the party started with our first question, and with Joy.
Well, tonight on our listener question show, we are super excited to have Joy Orr from Hartford, Michigan on. Joy, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. So, Joy, start us off. What is your question for Phil and I?
Well, maybe you could tell us about your horse first a little bit, and then we can get into the questions about, give us an age, a breed, a size, what you've been up to, and then we can get into the questions.
Sure. So I just celebrated my 4 months with my OTTB Astrid. She's a 6-year-old mare that I got from New Vocation. And she's my first OTTB, so it's been a really awesome journey. I don't want to say a challenge. It's been an awesome journey. And I've always had Arab, so it's a huge difference.
And why is it a huge difference? Tell us a little bit about the difference in the breeds that you're seeing.
Yeah. So my parents used to breed Arab, so I've grown up with Arab my whole life. And the biggest difference I found is the movement is huge. Arabs are a little bit more bouncy. I call it like their pixie trots because they're so animated. And I found that I've gotten really accustomed to that style. So when I first got on Astrid, it was like she felt like a cat. It was very odd. And we had this weird balance issue going on for the first week or two until I could adjust to her movement. And then just personality too. I really find with Astrid that she's always looking for that finish line, not to use a racehorse pun. But she's always ready to go that extra mile. She's very willing. And my Arabs are willing, but it's different because they're always looking for a way to find a shortcut out of the work. They're very big problem solvers, and it's fun. Some of my thoroughbred friends are always saying, if you can ride an Arab, you can ride any horse. Just because they are so smart about it.
Smart, really smart.
And where did you find Astrid? How'd you find her?
It's actually kind of an odd story. So I found her in November on Facebook. My friend Kyle Rothfuss, who's a New Vocations advocate, took her in as a foster horse. And I was not looking for another horse at the time. I already had 3, and all of them were project horses.
Wow.
And I saw her, and I was like, oh no. And my boyfriend, he's like, what's going on? Like, we're getting another horse. How do you know? I'm like, I know.
My husband's like, what are you doing?
We can't visit his farm. We can't go see the horse because she will come home with us. I just saw a picture. I didn't even read the description, and she was nothing that I wanted. I was not looking for a thoroughbred. I didn't want a chestnut. My next horse, I wanted to be like a big black gelding. And I have a 15-1 chestnut with no white on it. I like my chestnuts to at least be flashy. So she was exactly what I didn't want. And I didn't need another project horse. If I was going to get a horse, I wanted it to be finished because I've never had a finished horse. So that was something I was hoping to get. Anyway, so I ignored Kyle for a long time and never went to visit him. I was like, I can't go to your farm. You have to come to me. And so we did that until February. And in between that, a home had been lined up for her. And the woman showed up with a pony trailer. So Kyle said no to that deal, brought her back home.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, even though she's pretty small for a thoroughbred, that pony trailer wasn't going to work.
Whoa.
And so in February, I finally agreed to come out to his farm. He's been doing like this rescue fostering program. I'm sorry, I have birds in the background if you hear them.
Okay.
It's kind of a zoo in my house right now. And so I went out there and I said, okay, but we're not riding. And he said, okay. So I get there and he hands me a helmet and I get on Astrid, and immediately we had that connection. And he hadn't worked with her. He'd been on her once in November and then she sat in the pasture. So it was really remarkable how willing she was for me in the beginning. And we just immediately connected, and I knew she was coming home, but I still didn't buy her yet. I said, well, I'm moving because at the time I was in Ann Arbor. I'm moving to Hartford because I took over my parents' farm. So I don't have a job. I don't know if I can support another horse. I'm like, if someone else comes up, sell her to them. The horse comes first, but that's what I want. And then in April, I got a job offer, a really great job offer. And the day before, Kyle had told me that he was going to put her on the market and asked me for like the final, do you want to buy her? I said, I haven't heard back yet. Very next morning, I get a call, great job offer. I start like in 4 days. And so I called Kyle and I bought the horse. So it was a very long process. It was just meant to be.
Oh, that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, that's nice the way it goes around. And and
Yeah,
that's the horse for
yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah. So let's get to your question. What's the challenge?
Yeah, I have a couple, but I'll try to keep them quick. They're all involving greenies because that's kind of been my struggle. The thing I've noticed recently is if you have any exercises or suggestions for green horses who tend to be very tense, specifically in that pull through top line area. That's what I'm noticing. I just had a horse massage therapist out, and we're noticing. I don't know if she's building top line, which is the issue, but we've noticed that she likes to stay very stiff up there in the beginning of any ride. And I wanted to know if you have any exercises that you guys like to do to loosen up your young horses.
Reese,
So
do you
Phil, why
want
don't
to
you
take
take
this
it?
one
You
first?
take it first, Phil. This is
Oh,
this is
okay.
more up Phil's alley. So Phil, you go first.
For me, it's all about bending in the warm up. So I have a lot of horses, and just to start the ride, they tend to just want to hold their top line, and so I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, and it's to be taken with a little bit of caution. But I do tend to overbend the green horses quite a bit in the warm up. And this is just the type of horse, and so and when I teach people and I have this kind of situation, I tell the rider it's okay, put them on a big circle. It's okay to move the neck past the point of the shoulder and to allow the shoulder to drift out the other way if it's for the purpose of loosening the horse up, in the first 10, maybe 20 minutes. So that I get kind of the wet noodle feeling, that the horse is ready for me to straighten them and ride them a little bit more forward. So, like I said, this is a little bit of a cautionary thing. I don't want anyone to take and turn the nose to your knee or whatever. But, generally in lessons, you're told not to bend the horse too far, or to bend them past the point of the shoulder and to watch the horse drifting. But, I like to do this a little bit and then worry about the drifting later as a secondary problem. I got to get the horse to my outside rein and really have a loose, relaxed outside rein. It doesn't have that's why I tell people it doesn't have a job yet. So just let the outside rein go loose and just kind of, through the walk and through the trot, not too much in canter because you're going kind of a lot faster and it's harder to manage, but in the walk and in the trot to just bend to the inside quite a bit. And then I'll bend a little bit to the outside. Is feel the horse if I can get them a little bit relaxed, and then bend them back to the inside, or put them on a figure eight or a serpentine, and just use a little bit of that overbending so the horse can learn to just give a little bit more and relax a little bit more, and travel through their body. So not really adding a ton of energy into this phase of the thing. It's just kind of getting the horse ready to accept the energy. That would be my advice on this situation. Reese, do you have any thoughts?
So Phil, yeah, so I love this because I also think that what you're doing is sort of getting the tension out of the horse's back. Wouldn't you also say that? I mean, you're sort of moving the horse and asking the horse to supple and bend. I kind of call that yoga for horses. I have some horses.
Preparation for energy and power and connection and collection and even within this, I would do a little bit of leg yielding, encourage the shoulder to step out a little bit. So what you're doing is you're actually shortening, really shortening one side of the horse so you can stretch the outside of the horse, really stretch the outside, and then on the other way, and vice versa.
So you're
and then you'll
sort
end
of
up with a
making
horse
the inside of the horse's neck, the inside of the neck shorter, and the outside of the neck longer. Yeah. Right. So you're just saying, hey, I'm going to make your neck shorter on this side so you can stretch the outside of your body, not just neck, but pull to. Yeah,
they try and do the whole body. That's where the leg yield comes in a little bit. Yeah. But I'll go a little bit. I go pretty far with that. Not to your knee or anything, but I would go, beyond the point of the shoulder. To just see if you can encourage that relaxation and stretching before you really start connecting and riding the horse.
No, and I think that's such a good thing, especially because, I work with a lot of thoroughbreds, here in Lexington. This is, probably at least 50% of the horses I work with on a daily basis are thoroughbreds because that's what we have here, right? Those are the horses. We can get them every day. You could find a horse off the track. And next week we have the Retired Racehorse Project here in Lexington. So there's a lot of baby thoroughbreds that are coming in, and I have a few horses that are going to the horse park. So it's lots of fun, and that's become a huge kind of event. And one of the things that they have, because again, when they're, especially if they've raced, they have been trained. They've been trained to really work to the left and jog to the right. So a lot of times you'll have trouble with horses as you're working them and they're green off the track. I can't remember, is your mare off the track?
She is off the track, yeah.
Yeah. So, so again, think of how they were trained. They have baggage, if you want to say that. They have had a career already. So you have to think about that as you're training them. And, they're really trained to go hard to the left. So a lot of times you'll have a lot of tension going to the right because they're
stiff, yeah. Well, they can be stiff to the left too because they run and stiff in that way. On the thoroughbreds, everybody says they should be good to the left and no good to the right, but I haven't
not
really
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily. So you have
to
think
go
about
fast
that.
to the left and slow to the right.
Right. Or that's what they've been trained to do. So, I think these are things as you're training and as you're thinking about it, you really have to say, okay, this is what she's really good at. This is maybe what she isn't, this is what she's been trained to do. So I think what Phil's saying with this sort of bending work is phenomenal. And one of the things that you really want to say, okay, come on, we can use our body a little bit this way and we can use our body again this way. The biggest thing that you don't want to do, which is what Phil's saying, is ride them straight and flat. Because that's how they've been trained. You know what I mean? So you want to say like, oh, okay,
we're counteract that a little bit, yeah.
Right. You've got to do it.
Make it a little bit different for them, and then and this is what I'm saying is that people ride with a lot of rules in dressage, and they say I can go a little bit outside of this rule to get a point across and to help a horse make a difference. As long as I think. Yeah. What I tell people is everything is okay as long as you have logic and a purpose behind it. And then you can figure out if that was a good thing to do or not later on and help the horses that way.
That's awesome. I'm so happy you gave permission for that. I think that's something I needed to hear. So glad I asked that question. Yeah. Thank you. And then I wanted to know if you have any tips or tricks during the off season to prepare your green horse for their first show season coming up. Besides, the working them in the arena to get the flat work down, but the mental exercises of there's going to be a lot going on and kind of making sure that show experience is going to be positive.
Well, so a little bit, I think it depends on where you are, we have here in Lexington an awesome show series. It's called Snowbird. And it's once a month at the horse park. You can go and it's not expensive. We actually have a lot of horses that are scheduled to go this winter and fall for various reasons. Either we're moving up a level or, one of them's terrible in the warm up and, just certain things. So I think number one, schooling shows are phenomenal for that. And, it's one of those things, they don't get better until they go. We can do all day long. You can do all the preparation in the ring at home that you want. And that's very good. Don't get me wrong. But you got to get off the farm. You got to load them. You got to take them somewhere. You got to, get them off the trailer. You've got to do all of those things.
So even taking advantage of winter clinics and things like that.
Go to a friend's
in general,
house.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you get a little bit of a sense. It's all about knowing your horse. I really try and know each individual and try and treat them a little bit differently and what they like and what's going to give them confidence. And, so even going to a horse show, I might say with one horse, this horse just needs to get in the ring a lot. I just need to get him experience. And then other horses that tend to be a little, get tired a little quicker or just don't have the stamina, I would say, okay, I'm going to just take this one and enter in one class and come home. Whatever. You got to know your horse to give the horse a good experience. There's no cookie cutter way to take a horse to a horse show and have success. You just have to say, okay,
you got to go.
You got to know yourself and say, I have a lot of show nerves. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to go to the warm up. I'm going to pay a class fee and I'm not even going to go into the ring or whatever, right? Just, it's kind of baby steps. Some horses I'll lunge, some horses I won't lunge. Some horses, they're all a little different. So So again, you try and make a plan. You test out your theories. You go and you say, "Oh, that didn't really work. I'm going to come home, make a better plan, go back again." You know, there's always a risk in going somewhere or going to a horse show that it's not going to go well. I mean, you can be over prepared, and that can still happen. I think again, just making a plan, following through with the plan, and then coming home and really evaluating what worked and what could be a little, what you could have done a little better, or what's if you're going to wait another 3 months before you go another show, that's fine. Or okay, it feels good, or whatever. I want to go back next weekend. I mean,
Well, yeah, and it is, and I think horse shows are a lot because just even getting packed, getting your trailer loaded, going on a little ride. I mean, there's a lot of steps for your horse to go do that. So like, for example, going to a winter clinic is great because a lot of times, you can load up, you can go to your friend's house that's having the clinic, and maybe the horse gets to stay there for a couple days. Or, when we have clinics here, we try to be super friendly. Of course, use the ring, lunge, whatever you need to do, take care of it. And I think so clinics are a great start. And, you just, sometimes you have to say, you know what, I'm going to take that horse off the property every 2 weeks. You just have to say, I'm going to do this, because at the end of the day, that's what makes a good show horse, is that they've seen a lot and they've done a lot and they've gone a lot of places. And, sometimes taking a buddy with that horse is good. Sometimes that's bad. I think you just have to do it. And even it just reminds me of what just happened with my youngster, the horse I talk about, Follow Me, that I just got. He is, he's been showing all season, but we just went to the regionals. I mean, it was the biggest show that horse has ever seen. And because he had a pretty good foundation of, okay, we went to some little shows in Florida, then we've gone to some bigger shows, and we've kind of taken it one step at a time, which has been great. He went to the horse show and he was really nervous, and I could feel it. And I just let him stop and sort of just take it in. And then he sort of took a deep breath and we were able to proceed. So, you'll find that even once you get him to the schooling show, then you've got to take him to the recognized show, and then you can take him to the bigger shows. And it's a constant with a youngster. Don't be in a hurry, have lots of time, have all your people, have all your things organized. Those are all things we've talked about before. And I think that's incredibly important as you go through it. So we wish you such great luck, Joy. Please keep in touch with us. And thanks for calling into the show. We loved having you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate all of this. I can't wait to put it in practice.
Well, let us know how it goes, okay?
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Researchers have confirmed that as horses age, they naturally become less sensitive to insulin and more susceptible to health problems caused by too much sugar in the diet. One way to reduce the sugar content in a horse's diet is to replace sugar-laden grains with a high-fat supplement. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It is readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of sugary grains. Equijewel stabilized rice bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. Best of all, Equijewel allows owners to easily replace the calories previously supplied by sugary grains. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose Equijewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, for our listener question show, I'm super excited to have Stephanie Griffiths from New York City on. Stephanie and I have actually met in person last year when I visited Glenn and Jennifer, and she came into the studios. So welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thanks. Hi, guys.
We love that you're here with us. It's so exciting tonight.
I know. I'm really excited. I'm pretty new to the dressage show, so I'm really looking forward to your expertise.
Well, we will try, won't we, Phil?
We try our best all the time.
No pressure. No pressure.
I know. I just got a little nervous. So, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a project manager in New York City. I manage high-end renovations. I started riding about 2 years ago, and I grew up in Connecticut, about 2 hours away. And so basically I started riding near my mother's house because, I'm sure you can imagine things are quite expensive around here. I started riding and pretty much.
How did you
was
get that
bitten by the
start?
bug.
What makes you just, okay, I'm going to go riding? Like, sorry, I'm
That's an
always
interesting
fascinated about that.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, so I had a couple friends that had horses, and Allison Reese, who you met, she
Yes.
and I actually met at a tango marathon because that was my former obsession.
Wow.
We were
Probably
roommates
cheaper.
in. Huh?
Probably cheaper. Tango obsession.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I used to think that was expensive.
Yeah.
But so she, she worked for Michael Pollard, and she was an eventer, and I was like, wait, you ride horses for a living? Like, that's the coolest thing I ever heard. So, so that happened, and then a few months later, American Pharoah won the Triple Crown, and I had kind of gotten into watching racing the year before when California Chrome was a big deal, and so he won the Triple Crown, and I was just like, that's it. Like, why am I not riding? Like, I've always wanted to do this. So at 38 years old, I decided to pick up this, not too dangerous, not too expensive hobby.
Good for you.
And my first lesson was the following week.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so
Fantastic.
cool.
I love that story.
Yeah,
That is so
it's
cool.
kind
So
of-
now tell us, you live in New York City, you have a super stressful job. How do you make it work? Because that's insane.
Honestly, the horses right now are what keeps me sane. Like, I won't lie, I was pretty miserable. I was trying not to be, but my job is super high stress and super high pressure and a lot of money on the line. And the horses are just like, give me 2 days on the weekend to just absolutely tune out and not have to think about anything but them and what I'm doing. And, it's
That's great.
a lot of people say
Totally
it's therapy. It
understand
has truly been therapy for me. Yeah.
So
So
you
yeah,
kind
so
of,
basically every Friday night or Saturday morning, I'll drive up there, load up my 2 dogs and my cat in my car. Yes, I'm a little crazy. And go to my mom's for the weekend and ride.
Oh, that's
fantastic.
so
Kind of
cool.
the weekend warrior type.
Yeah.
So are you riding your own horse? Do you lease something?
I
What is
am now. So this was my lesson horse actually 2 years ago. And he was my second lesson horse after the like super pokey numb one,
Yeah.
and he's an off-track thoroughbred, and he's just such a sweetheart. I absolutely fell head over heels for him. And he was sold actually and not treated very well for 6 months, and then he came back. So long story short, he was back last year, and we rode again for another 4 or 5 months, and then he I think he had a sinus infection or something was happening physically that kind of like a few weeks in a row I just wasn't able to ride. And I had started to ride at another barn who had these amazing schoolmasters, and I was making so much progress. And as much as I loved Luke, he was still kind of on the green side. He didn't have a whole lot of training. He just had an amazing temperament, so she just threw people on him.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was spending, and I was leasing him actually at the time. So I felt like I was spending my money kind of training him, like training somebody else's horse. And I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I want to learn how to actually really ride. So I kind of, parted ways, and I had already told her I bought some property actually outside of Tryon, and I had already told her, when you're ready to retire him, he got a home forever with me. And that call came sooner than I thought it
you
would.
thought.
And
We've been there.
yeah, I was thinking 2 years down the road, I'll have my property, just bring him home, he can eat some grass, like, won't cost too much. No. So she texted me in, I guess it was the end of May, and said, I'm thinking about selling Luke. Would you be interested? And I was like, well, how much would you sell him for? And
Exactly.
she said, oh, well, for you, I'd give him to you. I'm like, well, we all know there's no such thing as a free horse.
Yes.
So,
Da-da-da.
and so, I was like, all right, I'll quote unquote try him. So the following weekend I went to see him again, and He still had the same little quirks about his ears and cross ties and whatnot. But we got out to the arena and I got on him. He starts throwing his head like a madman. And I couldn't even, it looked painful just sitting there. And so I tried to, pick up a trot and see if that would change it. No. So I just got off him and I was like, that's it. And she was like, that's it. I was like, it's fine. I'll take him.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, he's clearly unhappy about something, so I'm not going to ride him. And so before I got him, I said, have you tested him for Lyme? Because, all horses up here have Lyme, unfortunately. And the barn where I was volunteering is half rescue. And, so I've had experience with some of these horses with really bad Lyme.
Yeah.
And turns out he had it. And so, I moved him over there to that barn that I was volunteering at. And which is super lucky because it's an amazing place. It's beautiful. They're really great people. I can't imagine trusting him actually with anybody else really. And, treated him and he kind of came back. And as, the old Luke I knew started to come back. He was quite spooky, which was totally out of character for him. And we've been working on that and we've made a lot of progress. But I mean, he was, he's spooking at ground poles and he was jumping 3 feet last winter at IEA shows. So I don't really understand what happened there, but so we've made some progress. But the other thing, most notably, I guess, is that, he was, a little hunter pony going to IEA shows. And I realized when I changed trainers, and my new trainer is a hunter trainer as well, but she's been doing it a million years. She's amazing. She made me sit the canter and sit the trot, and I had never actually done that before. And then I realized, even looking at old photos and old videos of Luke, I don't think anybody's actually really sat on him before. So that's what we've been working on. And it's hard I'm trying to figure out how to find that happy medium between leg and hand. I mean, he's a thoroughbred, so you give him some leg and he's ready to go. But then I'm also trying to keep pressure on his mouth so that he kind of tries to stay collected and doesn't take off with me. But whether I'm trotting or cantering, that's always the problem where I can sit it, but I'm bouncing all over the place because he's going so fast. But if I'm trying to slow him down, he almost always breaks. If we're cantering, he breaks to a trot, and if we're trotting, he breaks to a walk. And we have made a little bit of progress where I'm kind of starting to find that balance, but more often than not, it's just he's like, oh, okay, I'm walking, and then I'm stuck. So yeah, I don't really. I guess also because because he had so much go and he's such a good boy that he didn't need a lot of pressure to stop. And, I was really a beginner when I was riding him. So that's pretty much what I knew, go and stop left and right. And so the other, I guess, part of that question is how much pressure should he have on the bit, because I know some horses require a different amount. And I kind of feel like I maybe feel a little guilty or something when I'm on his mouth. So I tried not to be at all, but also, my trainer was saying to me last weekend, because we are getting him over poles now and even trot poles, which is nice. And sometimes he's jumping the ground poles, which is really cute. But, apparently I was doing a release going over the ground poles and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And she was just saying, you have to keep the pressure on his mouth. He feels like you're abandoning him when you kind of just release and he's like, where'd you go? So, just a little more insight into bit pressure and the relationship between that and leg pressure, just to keep him moving. That was a really long story. I'm sorry.
I liked it. I mean, I love it. I love hearing the stories about how people come to be riding the horses that they're riding, and all of this, the backstory and where we're at. So.
This is not where I expected to be at all, but I'm so happy I am.
You know what? I think that's the main thing with horses. I think we could probably all say that at some level.
Yeah.
So let me have a question for you. When you go to canter, how much canter are you doing?
I don't know what you mean by that. And
so,
time frame?
Time-wise?
Yeah, you canter for
5 minutes, or do you canter like a half a circle? Do you canter 10 circles? Like, so when you're having problems in the canter, like how many circles are you doing, or long sides, or?
No, not too much at once, because I've listened to you guys enough to know to work on transitions.
Good. Yay. Yes, Phil.
And I don't want to punish him, for picking up the wrong lead or breaking, because I know he's such a good boy. I just love him to bits, obviously, but he really listens, and I know he's trying to figure it out. So, it's like we're just kind of learning each other's language, but he's always trying. So I try not to, like, even if he breaks, I try not to punish him. I will ask him to canter, I'll let him take 2 steps and ask him to canter again and say, that's not what we were doing. But so to answer your question, not, maybe in the big arena, maybe a lap, because it's really big. In the small arena, maybe 2. That's on the left lead. On the right lead, sometimes I'll stop because he's really unbalanced, and it's sometimes a little bit scary when he's on the right, because he just kind of like he compensates by just kind of taking off. Going like
well, the reason I asked that,
he kind of just goes sideways.
Sure. So the reason I asked that, and let me ask you too, do you only ride him 3 days a week, or is he ridden sort of when you're at work? Does your trainer ride him
2 days a week?
Okay.
No, nobody rides him.
Okay. Well, that's okay. It's just curious. So a couple things that I would suggest. First of all, as you know, 3 days a week is not a lot to have a horse, especially a horse that needs to it needs to develop and get stronger. So when I hear this about a horse that's struggling with the canter work, one of the things, do you ever lunge him, or does he know how to lunge correctly?
He does a little bit.
The reason I ask that too is that could be something that could be done potentially during the week, once or twice, to sort of help with his balance, right? If there's somebody, that's trained and qualified to be able to teach him that or work with him to do that, that would be one thing, just to kind of help with strength. Because a lot of times the running in the canter is from lack of balance and lack of, and lack of strength. So I think in this case, lunging could be helpful. It also could get him out a couple days a week to bump you up to more of the 4 or 5 range, which, as we all know, like, you work out 4 or 5 days a week, it's way better than 2 or 3. However, 2 or 3 is fine. It's better than nothing. You know what I'm saying? So if you could bump it up to even lunge once or twice a week, I think you would feel a benefit to that. Again, it needs to be properly lunged, and I feel like in side reins, I mean, that it has to be done well, not just running around in a circle. And there's lots of resources out that, or we could certainly talk about that another question. But the other thing I like to say when I have a horse that's really unbalanced in the canter is quality versus quantity. I don't care about quantity. I don't care that he can go around in a circle 10 times. I don't care about that.
Right.
I really, really want him to be able to canter half a circle or a circle in good balance. So for me, I always, when I hear something like this, which is very common, by the way, this is not an abnormal thing. It's like, hey, try to do the transitions, right? Because the transitions are going to help strengthen him. But also, if you think quality versus quantity, so let's say you're on a 20-meter circle and you start with a canter, you start with cantering half the circle, and then you do your downward transition. I always like to do a downward transition toward a wall of some sort, if possible, or the arena barrier or some sort of barrier. Regain the balance of your trot. As you approach the corner marker, pick up your canter again, and then you may feel like, oh, okay, I got half a circle in good balance. I'm just going to carry on with a full circle. Then I'm going to ride a trot transition. So there's a constant sort of transition making, if that makes sense, and bringing the horse back and doing those transitions. So you're not just zipping him around, on the forehand and letting him run. So quality versus quantity. Phil, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to address a little bit of the different question is the amount of pressure on the bit, and the amount of pressure, on the bit actually relates really closely with how much pressure you have on your leg. So the horse going forward and accepting pressure on the bit isn't such a natural thing. That's why we introduced early on the idea of side reins. So even before I get on the horse, they're used to having a little connection to the bit. With the young horses, it's not a lot, but a little connection to the bit, and from the whip, I can push the horse forward. So they don't think that rein pressure, bit pressure means stop. So you've got a retraining to do, right? So rein pressure can mean stop, but you have to add also, the way that you sit and your core pressure and the balance of your seat and your riding, so that there's a few things that mean stop. Because if the horse only stops because you pull on the reins, you're never going to be able to connect the back and get into some better sitting track. The only way to sit on the horse is if he holds his back up a little bit better to give you something to sit on. This is a little bit, it's a little bit of a catch-22, because a rider wants to learn to sit, but the rider can't learn to sit until the horse is round. And so you have to take a step back and say, I need to get my horse rounder. So, or activating the back, or however you want to say that on the bit, so that you aren't bouncing on his back and making the problem worse.
Right.
That makes sense.
And, knowing that he's coming from being a schoolie who didn't have a lot of training, was just a good boy. Like, she put all kinds of kids on him, and, that was it. It was leg means go, reins means stop. So, it's,
so like
it's
I said, there's a
definitely,
retraining to do.
Yeah, I can see how it
And
manifests.
And to start that, what you do is you halt the horse. You add a little rein pressure to see if you can drop the nose a little bit, not a lot, but a little vibrations into the mouth, massage the mouth a little bit, and then ask them to take one step forward while keeping that connection. So don't let the reins go every time you want the horse to go forward, because that's not helping your training, right? So if you can teach the horse that, and that's going to be the hardest thing to get over, right, is to have your leg on and the contact on at the same time, and not have a problem with that, to accept that there's contact between your legs and contact from your hands at the same time. And with a little encouragement from your seat and your back a little bit, the horse steps forward. If you can continue with that plan, then the horse, can take 3 steps, in a rounder way, 4 steps in a rounder way. And then with a little pressure from your hands and pressure from your legs and your seat, you can take that from walk into trot. And then you can start sitting on the horse when the horse will keep himself a little rounder as you go to trot. So this is not done at speed at all. It's one step at a time, and you don't have to have a ton of energy in your trot. You just have to kind of help the horse to accept the right shape, and to accept that rein pressure doesn't mean stop all the time. Sometimes it can mean forward. And then the same, it just follows through all the way into canter. And now, like if you go from halt and the horse is a little round and halt, and the moment he steps forward, he's hollow, you can't do anything from there. You can't train the horse, right?
Right.
You can't sit because the horse is hollow. You can't, you have to rise to give them a little bit of freedom in their back. So, I would start, it's just really, really simple. And then you can learn how much rein pressure, like just through experimenting. Okay, he won't move forward. Maybe I just can release a little bit and then add more leg, right? And then that, like you said, every horse is a little different in that how much rein pressure, how much leg pressure, and you can learn what the horse needs to be connected. It's hard. It's hard to do the simple things really, really well.
Yeah, that's the hardest part of dressage.
That's the key of it. That's the key of our sport is, to do the simple things really well, and then the rest becomes easy. So give that a go.
Yeah,
and
let us know.
Philip, can I get that on a
Yes.
t-shirt, please?
Yeah, absolutely. You can put it on a Horse Radio Network or our own Dressage Radio Show t-shirt. Yeah.
I love it. Good job, Phil. Well, we
that's amazing.
definitely,
Thank you.
definitely keep in touch with us. Let us know how that works, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Awesome. Reese, any chance you're going to the makeover next week?
I am going to the makeover.
Yay! Okay,
are you
I'll
coming in?
send you a message on Facebook. Yes, I will be
Awesome.
there.
Yeah,
And Allison, the one you met.
Sounds like you have to do a meetup.
We're doing a meetup. Yes.
And you can't miss it. Her horse's name is Cactus Willie.
Cactus Willie, how exciting! Well,
Cactus
definitely
Willie.
get in touch with get in touch with me, Stephanie. It'd be fun to meet up with you and have you even come visit the
Will
farm.
do.
Awesome.
Yay! Will do.
All right,
Okay.
see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
So Phil, today for our Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, we're going to talk about the synthetic shoulder relief girth, which everybody knows we love these girths. We use these girths, and I really like this synthetic girth. Justin is awesome and actually sent us a couple to try, and it has been fantastic. So it is affordable, it's antimicrobial, and it's super easy to clean because it's synthetic. And as we've all talked about, shame me, I definitely hose the girths off a little bit.
You hit all your girths with the hose. So this is
I
the
know,
perfect
it's
one
Justin hates. So this is a perfect girth for me.
Yeah. I was really thankful for this girth the last week because we had some seriously hot temperatures, and the horses were getting all that lather, a little bit lather after the ride. So we used the hose on them. So I was a little bit taking after Reese for that. And it's the shoulder release version of the girth, so it's got the great shape, just like the leather versions. It sits on the horse perfectly. Doesn't allow the saddle to move anywhere, left, right, forward, back. The thing's going to hold your saddle right in the right place. If you have any of those sort of issues on the rounder horses especially, I love to use this girth and put it on my Frisian. Works perfect.
Mm-hmm. So it has unique shoulder cutouts for the elbow clearance, and it's compatible and comparable to the Total Saddle Fit's 100% wool fleece cover. So it has a cover too if you need a horse. I haven't had any problems with these girths with girth galls, but if you do, it's certainly possible, and Justin has a fix for that. So you can get your Total Saddle Fit shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com, and Justin, as always, is there to help you with any questions. But this is a great option. It's affordable. It's easy to clean, and we both use it every day. So thank you, Justin, for that. So Jen, for our Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, you actually have a question for Phil and I, a personal question. So Jen, go for it.
My horse did like the last horse, amazingly enough. He didn't come with a right lead. I know he can use a right lead because he uses it in the pasture occasionally. Right. He will land after a little tiny jump and canter along on his right lead.
Yep.
And he has, I think on 2 occasions since I got him, picked up his right lead while I was riding him and I was trying to get him to do it.
Got it.
But the lady told me when I bought him, even my trainer can't get his right lead. He just has to run him into it, and sometimes he gets it. It's like, okay, fine. When he canters on his own, on the right lead, he has his haunches way to the right. He's almost on 4 tracks. He's got his canter. Yeah. He's so far in.
It's like in a haunches in.
Yeah, big time.
Just show him 4th level then.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Do what people do.
I'm thinking, because I've never pushed the issue with him because he gets himself all wound up into a knot as soon as you start asking for it because he's got baggage there. Am I better to get him to go straight and have him figure out how to get the lead straight, or am I better to let him swing his haunches in there because that's how he knows how to do it? I'm in a quandary. Where do I go?
Well, the bending work that we talked about earlier with Joy. Mm-hmm. Do you do that with him?
Not a lot. I ride in the arena very little because he's super ring sour.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that in the fields and stuff.
You can do that. Sure, of course you do that.
So start there. Just start with that whole bending. Yes, you can stretch that side while you shorten the other side. Just start there.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you've got that. It sounds like you have that issue going on too. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's super stiff. Super stiff.
Yeah. So I think doing that bending work is going to be like super, super critical. Yeah. That would be the first thing. Okay. Like work on that.
Until I can do that, don't even worry about cantering.
Basically, yes.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Because what you want to do is be able to do a leg yield, right? Do a yield into the canter. And if he throws his haunches far in, or if he's, you want to be able to have the ability to say, no, you know what? I need you to yield to the outside rein. I need you to move over. Also turn on the forehands. Anything that teaches him to stick the right hind leg in the direction of his 2 front legs. Yeah. Does that make
And that's interesting that you say that, because the one day that I got him to pick up his right lead, now he had the correct lead for 2 strides, and then he switched he switches in front. He keeps it correct.
Yeah, it's a balance thing. Yeah, it's a balance
and
thing. That's
the
all
way
that.
I got him to do it was to leg yield into it. So I'm going to just say,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we're just going to do lots and lots of softening so
Of
you get the wet
yielding.
noodle. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would do.
Okay.
A lot of wet noodle action until he's like, "Oh, you need me to be a wet noodle? No problem. I can do that all day long." And then I think you'll be in really good shape.
I'm doing that.
If you have enough success to be able to leg yield in the trot, and then actually I would teach the horse to do shoulder in the trot, then you have a chance of getting the horse somewhat straighter in the canter.
You know what? We did it from the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because as
it's
soon as I
valid.
trot, as soon as we're picking up a trot, as soon as he feels me put my inside leg on him, and I even think about canter, he goes, I know
Throws
what
his
you're going to ask me,
leg.
and I'm going to hate it, and he anticipates. So I thought, well, let's try this at the walk, because we never do that.
Baggage. It's
And
baggage.
I just kind of lucked upon it. So we're going to take a step back, and we're going to get all spaghetti-ish, and we'll revisit this in about 6 months.
Yeah, it may not take that long.
Well, it
He
will,
may-
because I only ride him twice a week.
Yeah. Well, then it'll take 6 months. Yes, it will.
There you go. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, or I'm going to have to lunge him a lot, right?
Well, I mean, all of that, right? It's probably not a bad idea, right? That he lunges and learns.
I long line him a lot, and that really is useful for him. When I lunge him, he's an absolute asshole. You can tell he's been put on the end of a lunge line and chased around, like hunters
More
do.
baggage, right?
Yeah, because the lady that had him was a hunter. So
Yeah.
he just goes around, he swings his haunches to the
yeah.
outside, and he goes around as fast as he can.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
don't do that. then.
Yeah, that's not gonna help.
Yeah, so I put him on the long lines, and I know how to do that because I've done that for years and years.
Yeah, it's great. Long
And-
lines are fantastic.
Yeah, and I long line him. Now the tricky part is because he loves to swing his haunches in. What he'll do is he'll start to push out onto the circle, so I have to tighten that outside, and then he gets his haunches in instead of staying
Yeah.
straight. So he's kind of got my number there. So I'm going to work on that spaghetti thing. I like it. We can go there.
Yeah.
Yay! Thank you.
Go there. Hey, no worries. Well, Phil, we love. This is our second edition of this listener questions, and we love it. It's so fun to
I've
talk
had
to
a lot
some
of fun,
listeners.
talking to the listeners and hearing about their horses and their horse experience, and so I'm gonna look forward to doing it next month. So
Yeah, next month. So as always, feel free to send us an email or Facebook shout out. We always love it, and we will for sure put you in the queue for wanting to come on. So we had a huge response this month, so we'll just kind of keep everybody flowing and get you on the show. So
we had a few too many questions to answer in this show. So we'll try and we'll put another note out and to ask for more questions, and maybe even if you have the same question and we didn't cover it, send it back in. It's not that we don't like the question; we can only cover so much every week.
Yeah, exactly. But we love it, and thank you everybody for participating. We always enjoy hearing from you guys. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me best probably on Facebook, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.